Alright, so for Project 5, what me and Tate did is we decided to work on the game. You know, it's an interesting concept, and it'll give us a lot of experience that we can use in the future. So basically, this is basically a summary of everything I'm gonna go through. Basically, the game framework, and in here we kind of just worked on, gaming objects, the key inputs, making the player move and whatnot. Other little things that make the game run better. Sprite sheets, textures here in the gaming objects. Basically, this is basically everything you see on the screen. The blocks and tiles, the bullets. You can't see it right here. He's not shooting. And the player right there. And for the window, basically the canvas which we pretty much draw all our objects on. We're gonna explain, how to buffer image load, the camera that follows the player, the basic loop which keeps the game going, and how to create the window itself. Alright. So basically, with the game object, we set up the basic mechanics of the game, and this is what I like about Java. When you pretty much download the package, it comes with everything it pretty much came with everything that I needed. I didn't have to go searching online and searching for stuff like this, and have to go through all that nonsense just to import it. But basically, yeah. For the key input class, we imported, event.keyAdapter and key listener, and basically set up the control so like you would use WSDA. I didn't mean to do that. W makes the character jump, A and D moves it back and forth, and the space bar will be to shoot. The object ID, it was basically set up so that the objects will be able to interact with everything else within the game. Okay, for the sprite sheet, basically what I did was I went online and Googled images, looking up different tile sets. You can actually see that right here. All those individual blocks and whatnot. Basically, what I did was I went online searching for the what I went online and did, I searched for the picture, and basically make sure it's a PNG file first of all. So clouds.png, grass.png, whatever you want. Basically, what this does is it kind of paints whatever specific texture you want. It gets that and pastes it to the canvas, like you see here. So texture, the sky, background, the clouds, all that is done with this right here. And for the textures, basically, that's actually another picture file that I use. I probably could have just made it myself, but that would have taken way too long, and we would have missed the deadline completely. Okay, the block object is a subclass of the gaming object. And basically, this kind of sets up the this basically sets up the player. Originally, it was just a block before I went and changed it to the character you see there. That was originally a block, supposed to be a block that I would use to test to collision bounds. I don't know if I still have it on my computer, but that's basically what this class was. Okay, the bullet object, and which is pretty self-explanatory. This is basically what creates the bullet. As you can see here, you can shoot. I didn't have time to program the enemies into that game, but I still think it's pretty cool. And so here is kind of where we adjust how the player will move. Private float gravity, just that however you want. That affects how fast the player will actually fall. This affects how the player will move along the x-axis, and that's pretty much it. The player class, this base, like I said earlier, it was originally a block class, but I kind of went back and changed it to a character because I thought just having a regular rectangle jumping around on the screen would be kind of boring. And here you can see, I kind of use these to kind of get an outline of the collision bounds and kind of test like, okay. I kind of use that to test how good the collision will work. When he comes in contact with an object, he'll stop. Oops, hit the wrong button. And back collision. He's not falling through the texture. He's not falling through the ground. Excuse me. And when he jumps from below, he walks to the top. That is a glitch, but I was planning on I was actually planning to make that key game mechanic, warping. Buffered image loader. Basically this basically grabs whatever picture file you have in a folder. It gets that and takes and basically it has it to where you can just paint it to the canvas whenever you wanted to. The camera is pretty self-explanatory. It follows the player around. I have it set to where it'll always follow where the player goes no matter what. Without it, you'll just see the player, constantly move to the left or right. But say if it was to go way off screen, the camera wouldn't follow it. Which would be a huge problem in a video game. Okay, this is basically what makes the game run. Basically, you have it set to basically with this, you pretty much set how you can set what I'm trying to say is with this loop, as long as this loop is going on, everything in this game will move. Like the player will move, everything is consistent. That's basically what this loop is. Here, when I was pretty much setting up, when I was pretty much laying all the groundwork for the game, basically what this does is it creates a simple level. It was originally just blocks going across the screen. The player would just jump around on it, and I just basically use that to test the collision of the player. So anything it interacts with, it shows on the screen. So just like that. Now what I originally wanted to do was make another level, but I didn't have the time for it. Like, if you can just go back to the end. There was a original, and he glitched off of the screen. But basically, the point was to put a flag right here, and whenever the player reaches the flag, it will warp him to another level. But I kind of ran out of time at the end. Okay. This is just more things I use for testing. And with the window here, basically, you just that's setting up J-frame. Whenever you ran the game, let me see. Whenever you ran the game, it didn't want to appear for a minute. But what you saw, what you just saw was a blank screen. And this is basically what it does before. This is basically what would have appeared before I added everything, before I drew everything to the canvas. Basically, that's it. Okay, so in the window class, basically, in here you can pretty much set the size of the window. How big do you want it? Length, width, but when you first create it, it's just going to be a blank canvas. There's not going to be anything on it. Everything else, I kind of explained in the last few slides how you could just paint objects and eventually print textures and all that to get it looking halfway decent. And basically what you see here, I think I made his hitbox a little too wide. That's what happened. And I didn't actually have time to animate the character, which is why we called it moonwalking. Fun fact. And basically that's about it. Here are the references. Basically I used DreamingCode.net, Zcode, Codecademy, and Stack Overflow. And so generally speaking, this was a lot harder than what I had anticipated. Like I really should have used the the gaming engine. I should have used a free engine that would kind of take care of all the minor details and stuff that I spent so long trying to fix myself. This right here, this is pretty much from the ground up. I did the textures by myself. The sprites I pretty much got online for free. I had the code, everything to keep the game running, the basic loop that keeps the game running. Everything is built from the ground up. Not doing that no more. It's taking too long. But basically, I would say I learned a lot from this assignment. It kind of gives me an idea of what to expect whenever I get out, when it's time for me to go out and look for a job. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you. Look at him, you already addicted to the game.